Oh, my name is Ken, K9KEN. That would be this guy here. Today we're going to take a look at the satellite tracking that's built in the Ham Radio Deluxe. So let's tab over to our Ham Radio Deluxe window. Now, when you have Ham Radio Deluxe window running, you basically got a screen like this. Yours may be different due to customizations and the things you have open, but let's go ahead and launch the satellite tracking aspect of Ham Radio Deluxe. You've got two options here. You can come up to satellites here and simply give it a click. You can also access it from the tools menu. Scroll down to programs. Where is it? Right here. And pick satellite tracking. So let's go ahead and launch that. Give it a second to load here. As you can see, I'm running the most current release of HRD. But the satellite tracking hasn't changed a whole lot since version 5, so anything that I say will still be relevant with version 5. Okay, this is the main satellite tracking screen. As you can see, you've got a map of the world here. You've got some rotor controls down here. You've got a radar map over here, and you've got the footprint here of the satellites that I'm currently tracking. I'm currently tracking the International Space Station. You can see its acquisition of service is in 8 hours, 35 minutes, 30 seconds. It's still quite a ways off, but just for demonstration purposes, I pulled up the most commonly known satellite, which is the ISS. This also shows your elevation, the azimuth, your range, your altitude, your location, or the location of the satellite, actually, of where it is. Currently, the IRS is in CH07UO. And the bottom one here tells you whether it's in the sun or not. It is currently in the dark, so that might be something that'd be interesting to know. For some satellites, this does come into play because the batteries are dead on the satellites, and the only time the satellites are functional is when it's in the sun and the solar panels are collecting voltage and charging the battery bank or whatever. So if you come up here and you look where it says satellite here, you can pick the satellite you want to track. There's quite a few here, actually. You know, if you want to track any of the AOs or like the Saudi Stat or the Fun Cubes or whatever you're into. These are basically just the amateur communication satellites that I'm looking at. If you come over here to satellite definitions, bring it up. There we go. You can select between the satellites, the sun and the moon, several different data sources. I've actually added quite a few here. We have debris fields and military satellites, weather satellites, the CubeSat satellites, all the stuff that is available. By default, there's only a couple here, actually. I believe it's the amateur, the NOAA satellites, and the weather satellites by default. I did add several groups to this so I could track other satellites and debris field and stuff. Well, now I cannot communicate with a lot of this stuff, or most of this stuff, unless it's in the amateur satellite section here. But it's still kind of fun to watch and listen for some of these satellites. Although you cannot communicate with them, you can still hear the CWIDs, and like the weather data is actually, or the weather satellites actually send pictures back to the Earth, and you can grab software that can actually decode these. And once they come over, overhead, and you can hear them, you can launch a program that will actually decode the data that these weather satellites are sending back to Earth, and you can start collecting real-time weather data, images from the satellite, so on and so forth. It can be pretty interesting stuff. But let's concentrate basically on the amateur satellites here. So one thing you're going to want to do when you first come in here is you're going to want to go over here to options, get all this set up, and make sure double check all this stuff is good. So on the first tab here, you've got your image of what image you want to use on the background here. The blue marble is my favorite. You got some other stuff here, like the weather tracks and stuff, or you can actually select the custom map. If you come down here to the map catalog, it'll launch a website where you can actually get different maps that you can use that are all laid out the same size and diameter and stuff as the original screen here back there, and it fits into all of this real nice. So if you find something you like, go ahead and go for it. Otherwise, just leave it on the blue marble. Now come over here and do your information. Make sure you enter your locator here. The latitude and longitude will automatically be pulled in here, and if you're above sea level and stuff like that, you can change this as well. Let's see, next tab is format. That's your time format, whether you want the time displayed in local time or GMT. So that's personal preference. I like local on the satellite stuff, so I can kind of keep track of when it's ahead and not have to, think about in my head, well, GMT is 7 hours ahead of me, so that's so-and-so, blah, 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 and that comes out to be so-and-so. I'd prefer to have the local time and not have to worry about all the conversion and stuff. Next tab is track details. This is telling you what it's actually showing here while you're watching it being tracked. It'll give you the AOS and LOS, which is acquisition of service and loss of signal, or acquisition of signal, loss of signal. It'll let you know how long before that satellite will be hearable in your location. Like the International Space Station here is 8 hours and 30 minutes and 34 seconds out. So I won't be able to hear this, if I can hear it on this pass at all, for another 8 hours and 30 minutes. So this is keeping track of that and letting me know how long before I will be able to hear this satellite. It also gives you the elevation and stuff for your router, which will come in handy if you've got a nice router or rotor. Tells you your range. It's 5,158 miles away currently. The altitude and the location, the grid square that it's currently in, and whether or not it's in the sun. Let's see, announcements. This will set up voice announcements for you, and the program will tell you when a satellite is 2 minutes out, 1 minute out, and tell you when it's visible now. It will also tell you when it's no longer visible. It'll also give you a notification that you're starting your rotor and stuff, but let's see, where are we? Announcements, observers, leaving blank, radar. You can change the way your radar display looks here. This radar down here, well, you can display or change the colors and stuff for this. That's all personal preference crap. I leave all this stuff at default so I don't bog the program down or anything. I come over here to, let's see, another thing you want to take care of is your radio. There's a specific setup here for the IC90 910H, it looks like, which is radio specific. So unless you've got this radio, don't worry about this. Rotor help gives a little explanation of setting up your rotor and stuff. Your rotor dial, you can change the gloss of it and the size of it, and obviously the colors of it. You can also have it show the main window, a radio sidebar, or not show it at all. I like it put right into my main window. That way it keeps the map at a decent size. That's all personal preference again, and do what you gotta do. Let's see, manual tuning. Set that up the tuning bar. I don't currently have that showing, but we'll get to that a little later. Anyway, that's about it here. Go through the settings and take a look at stuff that's obvious and set it up, and make sure you enter your grid square and your latitude and longitude and stuff so that your home icon shows up where you currently are. I mean, none of this is going to do any good if you don't do that, because it's going to place your location out in the middle of, say, nowhere. And all your data is going to be incorrect and wrong. So definitely make sure that you set your location here so that this is right, because that will affect all of this. An acquisition of service that is 6 hours off is no good to anybody. So make sure you set that up. Let's give this a close here and take a closer look. Here it displays your acquisition of signal. It'll let you know when it's going to be in here. Most of these satellites have a home page listed. So when it's loaded, you can either come up here and go to the home page, and like here, the IRS has a couple of different home pages, the AMSAT home page and the ARISS home page. So that'll take you directly to those, The AMSAT homepage will take you to the AMSAT site and take you directly to the International Space Station part of the AMSAT program. Let's see, Ham Radio Deluxe by default uses Internet Explorer for a browser, and it is just a pig. It's so slow. And it appears that the site is down currently, but go figure, right? So anyway, let's see. Another thing you want to look at here is your next passes. So we are tracking the International Space Station. If you bring the next passes up, these are the next passes as it'll come over your location. The better spike you have in this graph, the better chance you are of hearing or communicating with the satellite. So you can see today at 22:12, I'll have a pretty good pass right here. This would be my ideal time to try and make contact with the space station or bounce off its repeater or whatever. You can actually go out quite a ways on this and check your passes. It is currently Sunday morning, early Sunday morning. Here I am almost a week out already, so the predictions are pretty good. I've noticed that they're actually pretty accurate. So let's see, go back here to the beginning. Let's see the tracks. Whether or not you want to show the tracks is up to you. I would leave it on current and elevation, but that's personal preference. Whatever you like to look at, you go ahead and set all that stuff up. Don't be afraid to change between them and see exactly what it's doing, so it gives you an idea of what these options are actually doing. Let's close this. One thing you want to do, come up to the Satellite Definitions tab again, and come over here to Kepler Data. Now, you got to make sure this Kepler Data is up to date and current. By default, the program updates it every hour. I'm not sure if I've changed this or not, but I'm pretty sure the default is every hour. And it'll go out and grab the latest definition files so the program knows where the satellite is. So make sure you go ahead and do that. Just simply click the download button here. Or you can add the URL to, say, a different set of Kepler data that's available. You can see I've added several here, which they're all coming from the same site, basically. So if you're interested in any of this Kepler data, I believe it's just celltrek.com NORAD. And if you go there, there's a list of available Kepler files that will give you more usability out of the satellite program. Now, like I said, a lot of these satellites, or most of these satellites, are not usable, but the majority of them do have beacons and CW signals and stuff for ID, and you can hear those. Even sometimes with the vertical antenna, you don't necessarily have to have a beam. Some of this stuff is pretty good, like the NOAA satellites and stuff I can receive with a vertical, and I have no problems hearing it at all when it passes over. Now, on a satellite like the ISS, on the other hand, a beam is preferred. You need to take that beam pointed at the satellite as it's coming over, and you'll get your best results that way. It can be heard with a good vertical antenna, but it's pretty rare, and it's a hard contact running a vertical. So your best bet is a beam. Let's see, let's close the satellite definitions here. What else do we need to take a look at? You got your radio pane here, obviously, like you do in the other stuff that can show you, your most used things like your AF gain, your DSPs and stuff that you need to set. Most often, those commands are right here in this window for you. Close that. Let's see. Another neat thing, I think, is the Google Earth integration here. Now, you do have to have Google Earth installed for this to work. If you click it and don't have Google Earth, it's just going to tell you that there's an error, blah, blah, blah. But if you actually got Google Earth installed and click the Google Earth icon up here, it will load Google Earth and pull up a satellite view of where the satellite is. So the satellite is currently over water, so That's basically what we're seeing here. It's a view from the satellite looking down, and basically what you're seeing here is the area that is going to be workable. Let's see, come back here. As you can see, she's out in the middle of the ocean, so that's what we're seeing here. See if we can find something that's over land right now and take another look at that again. Right here we got this. Let's see, come back to Google Earth. And you can see now it's over the land. And we'll show you the bird's eye view from the bird. Another thing, let's kind of get this out of the way here. You can come down here and use the tilt and stuff here to spin the satellite, and for best bet, I'm guessing you want it to be heading northbound, so you're not all disoriented looking at it. As you can see, let's see, the satellite is heading northeast, or north by northeast, and so is the Google map here. So as it approaches your area, you'll actually see your area, and I don't know, it doesn't really serve a whole lot of purpose, except it's neat to look at. So that's something you can play with if you want. Let's see what else we got here. You got the tuning dial here. Now, if you've got a radio like the TS2000 or some of the SAT radios, you can have it manually track these satellites for you. I believe you can do it with a dual VFO radio too. It doesn't necessarily, spit it out, Ken, doesn't necessarily need to be a radio with satellite tracking. As long as it's got dual VFOs and you've got it set up for cat control, this will work out just fine. So you want to click the receive and transmit and then enable it, and it'll start controlling your radio and adjusting for Doppler shift and stuff as the satellite is passing. So you can see that VFO is on the downlink, which is 136 megahertz, and VFO-B is on the uplink, which is 446 megahertz, and it will track these automatically. As you can see, it is moving, taking into account for Doppler shift and everything. And it'll slowly work up the frequency as it gets a little closer to you, and most passes only last a few minutes, so you need to be alert if you're not sitting in front of the computer and don't hear the voice notification. You're likely to miss it because they go by pretty quick. As you can see, let's see, this one here is just a little over 10 minutes long as the pass, but you're only good, right in here. She starts getting pretty weak down in here, so the pass goes by pretty quick. You can also adjust manually if you want to kind of scan around and listen in the general area, see if anybody else is out there calling it, or she's a little off frequency because of Doppler or something. You can manually adjust the frequency that you're listening to or transmitting to. So that's that. Let's see, close that. Close the tuning wheel. Let's see, we did the next passes. Come up here and look at tools. You can set the appearance of the program, which is obvious. Skinning from the rest of the program is all carried over into the satellite programs as well. You can set the storage for where you want your storage to be, and we'll give you an idea of what the program is actually storing. As you can see, it's tracking my favorite frequencies and the home pages and stuff, and it'll give you an idea of where these files are in case you want to do them or maybe scrape them for some data or something. It's a good source to have, especially being a web developer or someone who needs to use that data for something other than the satellite tracking. Let's see here. Got your footprints. You can set it up for showing just the current footprint or coming footprints. As you can see, as she reaches the poles, she starts spreading out a little, and this will actually be over my QTH in about 28 minutes, although it's going to be on the far end of the footprint, and likely I wouldn't be able to hear it. But when she's coming right overhead, watch your passes and stuff down here, and look at your tracking line, your footprints and stuff, and see where it's going to be. And when it's right above you, that's your best chance to communicate with that satellite or use the onboard repeaters or so on and so forth. I really don't know where else to go with this. That pretty much covers most of it. Let's take a quick look here. It does do a screen capture. You can have it do a screen capture to the clipboard or a file. Capture your screen here completely. Edit menu, nothing there. Browsers, rotor. If you've got an electronic rotor, chances are the satellite tracking program or the rotor extension will support it. There is also settings for generic rotors and stuff like that. Let's see, let's see here. Okay, it is currently connected, it says. So, as you click on the map here, it will spin your rotor to that heading. So, say the satellite is coming in this way, and she's northeast of you. So I'm right here, so maybe point it out this way. Actually, it's got me down here for some reason. I'll have to change that. But you can point your rotor towards the satellite for a better chance of working the bird. So it will control the azimuth and the elevation if you're set up with a rotor that does that. If, of course. If not, it still can be useful to spin it around. And it says it cannot connect to my rotor because obviously I don't have one. So let's see what else we got here. The rotor we looked at, satellite definitions, the Kepler data. You can track the sunlight and the moon. IP information if you want to do some EME or know where the sun is so that you can tell whether or not the satellite is in the light or not. Because like I said before, a lot of the satellites that have been up there for a while are running on depleted battery packs and only work when they're in the sun. So that's something that's kind of good to know. It will also show you the gray line on the map and give you an idea of where the gray line is. And that's kind of cool information. Let's see, tools, windows. Well, that pretty much covers it. Anyway, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. My call is K9KEN. I can be found on Ham Radio Nation. If you are not a member, I would be honored to have you as a member. So give a stop by the site, sign up, and join in. We have thousands of amateur radio members, and all members are verified, so there's no crap going on, no spam bullshit or any of that, because everybody is verified and held accountable for their own posts. So everybody's pretty well behaved, I do have to say. So stop by, sign up, say hi. K9KN, Ham Radio Nation 73, my friends.